of life. Please forgive us of our denial of Atman as we also forgive those who deny Atman. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from the illusion of separation. For you are the kingdom, the power, and the glory ad infinitum. So be it, and so it is.
I mean,
Shalom, shalom, brothers.
Yo, yo.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Shalom, fam.
What's
How's
good?
everybody doing out there?
What's good? What's good?
Hope everyone had a great week. And I hope you enjoyed the videos that was posted. Looks like y'all were, by the views and stuff. I'm a little excited. I know it's not much, but we over 100 subscribers on YouTube. I was excited, man. But just to be starting also, man. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, man. And I think it went over like yesterday. I think it was too.
That's what's up. They could be anywhere in the world,
Okay.
but they're here with us.
Right, so let's get into it, man.
Yeah.
All right.
You gonna start us off?
Looking at me.
I'm about to say, you gonna start it off?
Pretty much, we're just doing a recap.
Yeah.
of
Yeah, I
what we went
remember
over.
you. I remember you said you wanted to touch on something relating to density
Right.
and consciousness.
Just a recap on it.
Oh, yes.
So I think some we probably just walked over, didn't really explain it
I think
to a degree.
so. The topic was what Christ consciousness, the chakras, and how they relate to
Creation.
creation /
Yeah.
reality.
Right.
Okay. So I think Malak was saying he had got some feedback, and maybe some people didn't understand what the meaning of density was. Was it density?
Yeah, like what do you mean by density? And then as we expounded on the topic, just the correlation points that that we use to expound upon the idea of density, and consciousness.
All right. So density, you could say, is just if you take consciousness. I mean, I would like to hope that everybody that watches this, if there's any words or information that you may not understand, that you will take the time to go look up the definitions. And even though sometimes I know I do make up certain definitions for words based on my own understandings, usually I try to stay in a place where, you could actually go look it up. So consciousness is just to be conscious is to be awake. Consciousness, one could say, is like awareness. So if you say that the creator or the source is just pure consciousness or pure awareness, right? And then if you would like to, I don't want to say divide it up, you could say project it. But if that consciousness is everywhere in every now moment, then from every level of creation has a level of consciousness. And we can call that level a density. All right. Hopefully that's clear. And if that's not, I read it like this. In the Law of One, Rod talks a lot about different densities. So most of the information on densities in the topic is based on the information that's collected from Ra. I showed the book last week. I didn't bring it up here today, but I could grab it later on. And how it works is beings progress from first density upwards. The work done in each density is all about refining the lessons of that density and starting to learn the lessons of the next density. A being progresses to the next density once they have learned a sufficient amount of lessons required to progress to the next density. Now, when we're utilizing first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, it's no definitive line. Right. It's more of like a spectrum. All right?
Right.
The more spiritual lessons learned, the more the being knows about itself, and the more light is directed upwards through the chakras within the being. The whole spiritual journey is a journey of self-discovery. So the more you know about yourself, the more you progress in the game, so to speak. The densities correspond to chakras. This is what we talked about last week and how we introduced everybody to that concept. So first density beings have their root chakra activated. And first density beings, we said, they have an atomic body, and we talked about elementals such as like mineral, which is a stone or a rock.
Rocks.
And you know what? You might see that expressed in something like the periodic table of elements.
Yes.
Right.
Which that is the known. It's the most pervasive form of describing matter.
Right. Yes.
Got you.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
Second density beings have their first two chakras activated, and they are being encouraged to activate their solar plexus chakra and so on. So it's just a continual graduation up through the densities, as well as you graduate through these densities, you carry more consciousness and ability to activate more chakra centers in each body that the consciousness resides in.
Right.
So a rock is a type of body that has a level of consciousness at the density it resides at with that consciousness, that conscious level. Does that make sense?
So let me break it down like this.
Go ahead.
It's like going to school. You start off in kindergarten. You can say that's the rock form. That's the root, the root of it, or just learning at home from your mother.
Yes.
Right. So when you get into the school, you go to first grade, and then you learn what you need to learn in first grade in order to graduate to second grade or to the second density. And then and further on, you just continue on learning so you can get up into fifth, sixth, seventh density.
And it's like a continued process. So everything that you had on the previous density, you still carry on to the next.
Fact.
So let's say we say it's an atomic body, right?
Yes.
Now we carry the atomic body. We have those elements in us, and then we add a chemical body to it.
Right.
So we have the atomic and the chemical as well.
Right. Right.
And then so on and so forth.
Right.
Which is interesting because in each one of these densities, very similar to like what you were describing in reference to the schooling narrative, you got series of tests.
Right.
Yes.
Facts.
Right. So, you have exit level testing that says that, you know what, you've learned just the appropriate amount of material, right, to concede to the next density level, plane of consciousness,
Right.
sphere of awareness,
Yes.
so on and so forth.
Right. Right. That was good.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's just like when you was last week, I think we was talking about animals.
Yes.
They're put forth in our lives so they can get to a graduating stage, so that their soul can graduate into the next density that they need to go to.
Right. We
help them along.
Yes, we're helping them along by taking them as pets. They're in a later stage of second density, so to speak. And not to confuse anybody, but this thing, each density has 7 sub-densities. And each one of those 7 has 7 sub-densities and so on till infinity.
Right.
So again, it's not I'm going to cross this line and now I'm in the second, and then I'm going to cross this line and now I'm in the. It's a spectrum.
Right.
So it's just a matter of the way the consciousness works, the way, if we want to call it the evolution, some would say involution of it works, the expansion. It's you're being drawn back to the source.
Yes. Right.
So it's we're all doomed to success.
Right.
It's just when do you choose to learn a lesson and move on?
Right.
And I can't tell you when you're ready to be on this, this level and so on and so forth. Right. We just start realizing, you look backwards, you're like, oh wow, I didn't even realize I'm in Arizona. When did we cross the border?
Right. Right.
And without a border, where does Arizona end and begin?
Exactly.
Where does any state end and begin without a border?
Right.
It's just constant movement.
It's interesting because I think I forgot how long these densities last for.
I think I have a list here. Try to make sure I have a little bit of notes,
really remember
everything.
this.
So, give me 1 second.
Because, like you said, within the densities, there are sub densities within them, and there's a period of time that you have to learn through. If not, you're gonna keep repeating it
Right. Until it's your time.
until it's your time.
So the life cycles, this is an estimate from Ra. So most of this information is coming from Ra. But if one is at a place where they read the information, you'll start seeing it in everything.
Right.
And the life cycle is first density is about 1 billion years.
1 billion years.
And I'm going to say it like this. I'm going to say it like Ra in a lot of these channels, in how we reckon time. Because when you hit a certain density, there's you exist outside of space and time.
Right.
You exist what we would consider in simultaneous. Now, you're infinite now.
Right.
Second density is 1 to 200 years. So you'll continue a cycle of incarnation in that density for 1 to 200 years.
Right.
Third density, the incarnational cycle is 75 to 100 years. Right? Mm-hmm. Fourth density is 90,000 years of learning.
Wow.
In how we perceive time. There has not been given a specific time for fifth density.
Right.
And for sixth density, which is the level that Ra resides at, is at 75 million years. And what little Ra knows about the seventh density, because Ra is only in the sixth density, he learns from his teachers and masters that guides him forward from the seventh density and above. So that's where we'll stop with the life cycle. So going back to pretty much an overview of what we covered so we can move on. Mm-hmm. We started with the first density. And that density is the density of beingness and awareness. It corresponds with the red ray or root chakra.
Right.
It's an atomic body. It's all organic matter, as such as earth, which is really mineral, water, fire, and air. And the time, like we said before, is billions of years spent in a timeless state of being or existence, beingness or in existence. All right.
Right.
Anything anybody want to add to that, or just keep it moving?
It's interesting. On my chart, on one of my charts on the root chakra, it says repairing childhood relationships.
Right.
So it don't say repairing childhood relationships when it gets to the heart. It just says when it's here. So the child would be considered, if you want to look at it, be in the root chakra stage of life.
Right, it's a foundation.
Right.
It's all from the ages from birth to I think about 7 is the developmental stage of a child's mind and how they relate to the surroundings around them.
Right.
So if it's I don't want to say compromised, then everything is built on that compromise from that compromised state on forward. And if it's something that serves them for their highest good, then everything that's built off of that foundation continues on into the other levels of development.
Right.
All right. The second density that we covered last week was the density of growth and movement. Mm-hmm. The chakra that it aligns to is the orange ray or the sacral chakra. In this density, the vehicle would be a chemical body, which includes all biological life and organic matter with autonomous movement. Microbial life through plants and animals. So when you see animals, whether from the lowest microbe to, I don't know what we would consider the most highly developed animal. Some would say higher primates.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
I've heard things about elephants.
Yeah. Elephants.
Octopus.
Dolphins.
Yeah. So on and so forth.